Hi,
Hi,
Tara. Nice
Andrea.
to meet you.
You too.
Yeah, so I'm curious, what is the biggest challenge in being a voice actor?
Hmm. I'm so lucky. Like, if I really had to say, gosh, what's authentically challenging, it would be like I almost feel bad calling it challenging compared to what other people do during the day. It's a pretty incredible job. It really is. I'd say like within those parameters, so knowing that I know how lucky I am. Things that can be more challenging are like a video game where you're doing 1,000 death sounds for 4 hours, and that can really wipe out your voice. Or sometimes learning music that is new, and maybe they gave you that day, and you have to fit it into the right pocket and make sure everything's all right. And dubbing in foreign languages is probably challenging because you have to match the lips and put it in a different language and do good acting. So those are probably the most three most challenging things about my job, but it's hard to say challenging. You feel me?
I totally do. I've been doing the same job technically for 3 years, and so I have a hard time answering that question too. But there has to be some
Right?
parts of it that are a little bit like, oh,
Yeah.
that's tough. So,
Less wonderful. Yeah.
how do you feel that you relate to Kitty Fairy?
Well, I relate to Kitty Fairy in a pretty big way. First of all, I love, love, love outside gardens, green, trees, grass, flowers, weeds. I love outdoor nature in a really, really profound, big way. And I also love magic, and I also love singing, and I also love ritual and ritual around magic where you're creative and creating positive experiences and light and making people happy. Like, it's gonna sound cheesy, but it really is who I am. I love that so much. We're very, very alike.
That's awesome. It's perfect that you voiced her then, right?
Perfect.
What message do you hope viewers get out of Gabby's Dollhouse?
Well, of course, I'd hope for kids they get the messages of friendship and inclusion and not judging other people's personalities or gifts and recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and that's okay. And those sort of basic core principles that are easily in every episode. But then on top of that, I'd love for them to really tap into what makes this show extra special, which is the element of imagination and magic and ritual and doing things together and being creative around it. And I think there's something very special about the synergy of the garden and the magic and the arts and crafts and the things they do all together that come together to create this very magical world. So I hope it inspires kids to create and live in their own magical worlds.
How do you feel you relate to Mama Box?
I relate to Mama Box because I also love being a mama, and I'm also a very arts and crafty mama. My kids and I have been doing arts and crafts since they were tiny, tiny, tiny. Um, we did origami and sculpey and painting and clay and anything we could find. We were always doing arts and crafts and getting really creative, and they still do it today. I mean, my son just made this huge shape out of, I don't know, origami. It's the most amazing geometrical phenomenon I've ever seen. So we're still pretty crafty and loving. So that's kind of Mama Box.
Do you have a favorite episode of Gabby's Dollhouse so far without giving any spoilers?
Hmm, it's a good question. I think I think I'd have to rewatch it to really give an accurate answer. Because they all, when you're working on them, they all feel so good. They're all so good, and the animation is so good. It's like the cutest top to bottom animated show I've ever seen. And it's such a beautiful show. I think I couldn't say what my favorite is without, I'd have to rewatch them all. I really would. That's the truth. I'm gonna lie otherwise. Otherwise, I'm just making it up.
Totally understand. They all kind of play into one another, which is super cool. And so it's like, oh,
Yeah,
what's going to come next? And so I'm sure it's really hard to
yeah,
pick a favorite.
yeah, it is.
Great. So, out of all of the characters in Gabby's Dollhouse, is there one besides the ones you voice, obviously, that you would like to voice?
Oh, in Gabby's?
Yes.
No, because it is the most perfectly voice cast show I think I've ever experienced, and there's something very magical and serendipitous about each human that booked each part. So I wouldn't want to like mess with its magic, if that makes sense.
Totally does. It sounds like you're very fit for your characters, and everybody seems to be fit for their characters. So that's
Exactly.
awesome. Great. Thank you
Hmm.
so much, very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Yeah, thanks for having me.